did not even make the postseason roster. They had questions in their starting rotation. And sometimes good pitching beats good hitting, and sometimes lucky hitting beats good pitching. And everything that could go wrong for the Dodgers over the course of these 4 games went wrong for the Dodgers. And that's what happens. Short series, it only takes 3 wins, not 4. That's it.
How about the 7th inning for the Padres? Really a dink and dunk inning as they're able to score 5 runs, and that's the difference.
I think the image for this game that will stay with me forever is the way Juan Soto stole second base. I don't know if we can go to the videotape here, but he strolled into second base, and I understand what Dave Roberts was doing. You really want to make sure that your defenders, when it's first and third, that your defenders don't move because you don't want any, oh, do we have it? No, we don't have it. But the fact of the matter is that I understand his play. But in this case, you cannot let Soto get to second base. I would have changed the rule for this situation, and that's not hindsight. When it was going on, I was wondering why you would let that run get to second base, get to scoring position, and it did. On top of that, there was a wet field. Later in the game, 8th inning, 9th inning, all of that worked to the advantage of the Padres. It works to the advantage of the team in the lead, and that's it. The Dodgers are done, and we have to have a bigger conversation about why all of these teams who got the byes are being eliminated in the division series.
Well, yeah, before we get to that, I want to ask you about Josh Hader, because I think when he came over to San Diego, I think people were questioning, like, okay, at least those in Milwaukee, like, why did we deal him? And I think during the season, he struggled a little bit with his command. He was giving up homers. Maybe he lost some velocity, didn't have it. Did he answer those questions for you in this series?
Well, this is only the division series, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But when Josh Hader loses his release point, he becomes much less effective. When he keeps his delivery consistent, pitch after pitch, he's very hard to hit. And when he got to San Diego, you could say it's a change of scenery. You could say he didn't like the hotel he was living in. I think it was a release point issue. He was ineffective. He's now going through a very effective streak. And if you can ride a hot bullpen hand and a hot bullpen through October, that is how you get a ring where you have hitters hot and pitchers hot, and you need both. And the Padres had both in this series.
Yeah, in 4 appearances this postseason, Josh Hader allowed 1 hit. 1 hit. 1 hit. I mean, that's when you got a closer of that elite level status, and there was questions for the Dodgers bullpen. You know, I mean, what are you going to do?
I think that you have to think to yourself right now, you're celebrating if you're Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, but you're thinking ahead and saying, wow, I may have to get a hit off Josh Hader at some point in order to get to the World Series. So he is very obviously effective. You saw the way Freddie Freeman ended the game, just as though he didn't even want to be there. It looked like John Kruk facing Randy Johnson. That's a boomer reference, but he just didn't look like he was. Thank you so much, Dermish. He just did not. It's 2 a.m. He just did not look like that he wanted to be in the box, and that's how he can make lefties feel, because Hader is coming at you all legs, all arms, that big arm, and almost looks like he's dropping the ball to you because of his delivery, almost like a Carter Capps delivery for all of you Padre fans out there.
I think that was in the 1993 All-Star game? The Randy Johnson buzzed John Kruk, right? Then he turned his helmet around. Right?
It's when John Kruk just said, I'm not going to do this. He just said, no mas, no mas. So to me, when I look at what the Padres have done, A.J. Preller gets credit, and I've been very critical of him on Nothing Personal, very critical of all that he's done, building it up, tearing it down, and the moves he's made and the way he goes about doing his business. But the fact of the matter is that he got Juan Soto and Josh Hader at the deadline. Juan Soto has not performed well since he became a Padre, but tonight he got a critical hit, and he will be critical to their success. That's number one. Number two, A.J. Preller and Bob Melvin, great hire finally. They found a way to get through Fernando Tatis and his suspension. We forget that in theory, the face of baseball, the best player on the team in theory, has been suspended and has not been playing and will not play. And yet here this team is in the LCS. So many things have happened with the Padres this year, and they have maintained their focus. And a lot of that goes to the credit of Melvin and of Preller.
Yeah, what does that say about the Padres? They just basically said, forget him. we're going to do this without him. And look, they haven't accomplished anything in terms of a title yet. We know that. But taking down the Dodgers, because A.J. Preller called the Dodgers the Dragons up north. Padres just finally slayed the Dragons up north. I mean, they were owned all season in the regular season by the Dodgers, and now they just slay the Dragon, and they're able to do it without Fernando Tatis Jr. What does that say about this club?
So you're a baseball historian. Just a quick question for you. Just last year, can you remember who lost in the division series or who lost in the LCS? I'm just trying to know where your head is, and I'm telling you why I'm asking.
Well, the Braves won the World Series. The Braves beat the Dodgers in the LCS.
My point to you is that what the Padres and the Phillies have done today, it's incredible. It's exciting. It's going to be a very interesting league championship series. But at the end of the day, you've got to get to the World Series and you've got to win. If you want to be remembered, you've got to win. Yes, the Padres can say they had a good season. They won the division series against the Dodgers, but they can't be satisfied. There's not one player in that clubhouse who's saying, hey, I slayed the Dodgers Dragon. We're done. We're good to go. Let's pack it in. No, they want 8 more victories because the ring is the thing, not slaying the Dodgers.
Yeah, I get it. I get that the ring is the thing, but also, I mean, it's a nice feather in your cap if you're able to knock out the Dodgers. It's nice.
It's not even a feather.
Okay, it's not. It's yeah, but
winning the division series is not a feather.
But to be able to get to the NLCS for the first time since 1998, I mean, for the Phillies to be able to get to the NLCS for the first time since 2010, that's an accomplishment. I mean, I'm not saying you have to sit here and throw a parade, but that's a big deal. That's a big deal for those two clubs.
It's a really big deal when you're marketing, when you're selling season tickets, when you get to raise a banner. It's exciting right now as you head into the LCS. But I'm talking about when you look back at your season, when history is judging your franchise or your year, when the players are judging your year or the front office, you've got to do more than what the Padres and Phillies have done. Right now, today, it is outstanding. They are in the LCS. Padres, first time in 24 years. I get it. But my point is, and what Bob Melvin is letting his players do today, he's a veteran. They're celebrating tonight, but he is going to be dead serious when he sees the team tomorrow and says, guys, we've done nothing yet. We've got to get through the World Series and win the whole damn thing.
Well, the Dodgers won the whole damn thing in 2020, and Clayton Kershaw was on that team. He did not pitch in the postseason last year because of an elbow injury. He gets to pitch here in this postseason, but this was his 15th season in the big leagues. He's been hampered by injuries, throughout his career. Could this perhaps be the end of Clayton Kershaw? Because this was a one-year deal in L.A. Of course, they can bring him back, but what do you think the situation is going forward with Kershaw?
I think they're going to want to bring him back because they need starting pitching. He's not a $30 million a year pitcher. He's not a top of the rotation pitcher. But the Dodgers really have to think about their roster. And here's the interesting thing. Dave Roberts, before the season started, said, we are winning the World Series. Then they went out and won 111 games, and everyone thought they were going to steamroll into the World Series. The fact of the matter is the only World Series this team has won, as good as they've been for as long as they've been, was the COVID-shortened 60-game season in 2020. It's reminding me a little of the 90s Braves, who made it every year. They won the division for 14 straight years, but got one ring. The Marlins ended up with 2 rings over that period. I was only there for 1. Can't take credit for both. That said, if you are judging by rings, the Dodgers, they're not a dynasty at all, just like the Cubs of 16 are not a dynasty. The Nationals of 19, not a dynasty. The Braves, if you only win 1 ring, can you say that you're the best team of the generation? I do not believe you can. This is a huge loss for the Dodgers organization, and it's crushing because when you're in the front office that you've got to get ready for spring training in February and do it all over again.
Yeah, they just did not produce in October. I mean, they were phenomenal. They were the best team in baseball all regular season, 111 wins, a franchise record. But they did not show up in October against a team they dominated in the regular season. Trey Turner, also a free agent after the season. You think he's coming back or is he going elsewhere?
I would assume the Dodgers would want to re-sign him. He is so critical at the top of that lineup, and they've got the resources and the payroll capacity to do it. And he's so critical if you think about it. But he's going to go out and he's going to get a ton of long-term offers. maybe in the $30 million range. I'm not sure he's a $30 million player, but he's close to that. But the Dodgers certainly are worse off without him, and I don't know how they replace him with that level of skill. The other thing I'd like to mention to you that we haven't talked about is the buys that took place this year in the expanded playoffs. There are going to be owners talking to the commissioner and talking amongst themselves when you see the two teams with buys in the National League are gone in the division series. They did not make the LCS. There were a few extra days off, not too many, 1 or 2 extra days off, but it's something to monitor as we look at what the expanded playoffs look like, what the schedule looks like going forward, because division winners this year, they were not in good shape. God, I wanted to say that better because we're live. They were not rewarded. Division leaders this year and division winners were not rewarded.
You can always hit me with a 369-17 if you want, even when we're live. If you want to, you can. We can clip it. So
Coca's sleeping.
Well, we got editors here though as well. We can make it work. We got them. We got people. Okay, we got people. Well, now for the Philadelphia Phillies.